Good evening, everybody. I appreciate that you're all enjoying getting to know each other and chatting with each other and everything else, but it is 6 p.m. and welcome to this evening's school committee meeting. I'm a little out of practice, and I am chairing this evening. Julie Viola has a family obligation, so I will call to order the Concord Carlisle Regional School Committee.
I'll call the Concord School Committee to order.
Okay.
So we have no members online.
Not right now.
No.
That may change.
Okay.
Aisha is online.
Aisha's
but
online. In terms of roll
Is she
call.
online now? Okay.
She is. She's on. She's
Oh, there she is. Okay.
So you can see behind you. But
Oh, I can't see. Okay.
So
Hi, Aisha.
are our students online? Our student
I
rep.
promoted Felicity. I don't
Hi,
see
Felicity.
the others yet. Hi, Felicity.
Gloria and Maddie are both have events, so it's just me today.
Okay, great.
You
Do
hear
you
that?
want to do you want to start with your student update? We're going to raise the volume in here a little bit.
Okay, can everyone see our presentation?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Great. So today is just me talking, but for some recent updates, there's been a lot of very fun, like mostly community-based events at CC in the past couple of weeks. Last Monday, we had the Multicultural Food Festival, which is always like one of the highlights of the year and was
I asked
definitely...
him to come out and turn it up. Hold on.
Hold on, Felicity. Sorry.
Are you able to do anything? Felicity, try it now.
Can you guys hear me?
Better, thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, so the Multicultural Food Festival was last Monday, and that was a huge success. Hundreds of people and lots of cultures were represented. And another community event that we recently had on Sunday and Monday of this past week actually was the Phonathon for the CC Scholarship Fund. And I and a lot of my peers were all part of that community service event, and we were able to get a lot of donations from people in the community for the scholarship fund to help our peers get financial scholarships to attend college. And I know that at least my shift, we set a record for like the most amount of money in a single shift. So it was like
No way.
$24,000 within 3 hours, which was really great. So it just shows like how much, and we all felt that it was like very meaningful and we felt very productive. So that was really a great event. Also, I believe last week was the MMEA Junior District Festival, which is another premier like ensemble group for bands, orchestras, and choruses from up to 9th grade. So we have a lot of 9th graders who qualified this year in band and orchestra as well as chorus, and they did great at the festival. Some ongoing events that we have now include the moot court competition, which is always like a very great annual thing in the spring from around February to May, which is like a kind of like a debate-related mock trial kind of competition. And we're about to start round 2 of that later this week, which is very exciting. Spring sports have also started, and I know a lot of my friends are very excited to get back into like the sports season. Also, a lot of upcoming events. Tomorrow's a half day, and like what my friends say is like a real half day because it's the 11:15 and not just the 1:15 dismissal. And there's also going to be an assembly by Birdie Light on fentanyl education and harm reduction for juniors and seniors. So that's going to be hopefully a very informative experience. Class government is hosting another school spirit event, which is the dodgeball tournament this Friday, and that's always an annual highlight as well. Next week is going to be the first CCHS Wellness Week. As you can see there on the right, there's going to be a lot of wellness-related activities, which a lot of students are very excited about. Next Tuesday is the March and Micah preview concert, which is going to include both all the instrumental ensembles and choral ensembles. And it'll feature some of the songs that we're preparing for MICA, which is the big Massachusetts Instrumental and Choral Conductors Association competition in early April. So this is always very high level and technical repertoire, but it's also just a really fun concert. And IQH Fest, which we mentioned last time, the date was moved, so it's now going to be, I think, 2 Saturdays from now on the 22nd, and there's definitely been a lot of hype and build up around that. So many things that we're very excited about moving forward.
Thank you so much, Felicity. This is a very busy schedule for the month of March, and it's coinciding nicely with the weather, and I'm really happy for you guys. It's a lot going on and exceptional as always. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Felicity.
So now we're moving on to our recognitions. We have 2 tonight, and both are very exciting. We're going to invite Ashley Cohane and any students.
No, I have
Okay.
colleagues. Take a seat at the table.
At the end. Or anywhere. Anywhere.
Anywhere with a mic. Okay.
All right. Hi. Okay, so hi. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. So I am Ashley Cohane. I'm the math teacher and program leader of the Rivers and Revolutions program. Joining us on Zoom are a couple of my colleagues. So Will Kameza, the English teacher, is up in the right, and Agatha Wozniak, social studies teacher, down in the left. And the other 2 teachers, James O'Shea, our science teacher, and Tracy Dunn couldn't join tonight, but passed along their gratitude and appreciation for being brought on. I shared some slides with Dr. Hunter that we maybe will see a little bit of it. But I just thought I could give a little bit of an, sort of higher picture of things. I know we shared the website, and I suspect you've spent the last week just poring over it and learning everything that you can about Rivers. But so I thought I'd touch on a few things. And first off, I just want to say thank you so much for the support that Rivers has had since the inception of the program over 12 years ago, but especially for the last couple of years since I've been the lead in the program. We feel so much support from the school administration, district administration, and then also from the school committee, and we really couldn't do all that we get to do without you. And so, I found myself thinking about Rivers and its unique role in the high school and sort of for the district. And I found yesterday I was able to be part of a focus group through our Challenge Success program, and just found the students talking about sort of the stress, anxiety, pressure that they feel, which we could spend probably the rest of the year trying to get to the bottom of. But found that Rivers really does provide this unique opportunity to try and address some of those things that are going on for our students. And so, I was thinking a little bit, and I don't want to go on too long, but we have these 3 units of study that I think speak to some of the concerns that these students were vocalizing. And the first, and I guess thinking about that, I feel like hearing what the students had to say, I feel like instead of actually being present in their high school experience and really maybe enjoying some of those things that those students were sharing that's upcoming, they're so focused on what comes next. And so we're really working on how can we ground the students in what's going on. So we just wrapped up the Rivers unit where the students were exploring the idea of how do you get to know a place and community through multiple perspectives. And so I guess maybe jump to that 3rd slide that says experiential.
I'm having technical difficulties.
Okay, don't worry about doing that.
I can't see more than that.
Well, here you go. That gives you a little bit of a sense, right? So we are really out, right? We know that there's so much amazing learning that happens across the district in the classroom and in those 4 walls, but we also know that some of the richest learning happens outside when you're in it and you're doing it. And so we have an opportunity to, we aim to be out of the building 50% of the time. Today, we were talking about living deliberately and walking in the steps of, Thoreau, and we were there at his cabin site reading excerpts from his book. And and I was having students graph and think about how they're spending time as we're in this revolutions unit, and pushing them to think about what does it mean to live a good life. So giving students that opportunity to step back and take stock of their lives and why they do what they do. And then we're going to launch into the Journeys unit later, where it's really thinking about, what is it that they want, and how are they going to take all these amazing things that they've learned in high school with them. And, I think one of the big things that we've really been focusing on these last couple of years is how do we help reach all students, right? I think we know that all students need that support with their mental health, their well-being, getting outside, getting outdoor classrooms that we're able to use on a regular basis. And so, students, we've had support from the administration in figuring out ways to balance that with taking AP classes and making those things happen in the morning. And really wanting to reach all of our students, bringing in embedded honors across the board with all 5 subjects. But I'm so grateful that it's something that we have here in the district and that we have your support of. So thank you.
I'd love to open it up to anyone who has suggestions. I saw Cynthia's hand rise right up.
So since we've been getting a lot of correspondence from parents about cell phones and devices.
Cynthia, I think you need a.
Cynthia, can you
need
speak into a microphone? Sorry.
Here you go. There, thank you. Thank you for your assistance. Cell phones and devices, and just what you said, you're trying to have an experiential.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that? Because you're with the students a lot. They're not moving in and out, leaving, coming in.
Totally, yeah. So, I don't know if you've seen the typical phone caddies that we have around. We instead have these cloth caddies that have 6 phones that can go in them that are one of our teachers made.
Nice.
And so we have them up on the wall. And then when we are heading out, I have mine that I take and I fold up and I tuck into my backpack so that if something were to happen, or let's say we're going into Boston and the students are getting lunch and they all use Apple Pay, no one seems to have cash or credit cards anymore, we do that. But I do think, so one of the things that was amazing on, I think, our last day of the fall semester, so it's a semester program, so it was our last day with this group of students. We let one student have a phone and we brought a portable speaker. Right. And we were on the bus back and a student started playing songs, and we had 40 people on the bus singing along to Stand By Me, a little Taylor Swift, but I do think, one student was sharing how she feels like whenever she's feeling anxious or a little uncomfortable, and I think we all do this, she turns to her phone. And that by the fact that we've pulled the phones out of their hands, we don't let them have them on the buses or when we're out walking around Walden, and that they are then connecting and having to move through that sort of social anxiety and making those true, authentic connections. So.
And have you gotten any feedback that thank you or?
Yeah. I think all of the students really, I think initially they're like, wait, but, and then they say, hey, I really appreciate this, and see that the numbers, the time that they spend on their phone is going.
And they're all on the same. It's not like somebody has a phone and somebody doesn't have a phone.
Right. 100%.
Good. Thank you so much.
I have a question. So can you sort of walk us through, I know you have your English teacher and his social studies teacher on here too. Can you guys just walk us through what's a typical day? Whether it's inside the building, outside the building, how do you sort of structure it with knowing that you have those?
Yeah. Well, one thing I would say is that no day is the same, right? And that's one of the things that's so exciting, and especially as a teacher, it's one of the most exciting things. And being able to be on a team of teachers is one of the most unique and rewarding experiences, and I'm so grateful that I get to work alongside these awesome, super intelligent, and really just fun and funny people. Anyway, so a little long-winded, but so I'll give you an example of a couple of days. So yesterday we were kicking off our Revolutions unit. We stayed on campus all day, but we took the cohort, we broke them into 3 smaller groups, so we opened up together in the classroom, just getting them to do a little mind map of what is a revolution, and come up with all those things. You saw a lot of kids, writing Cuban, French, and sort of thinking about this one idea of revolutions. And then they rotated through the day, half-hour stations with each of the teachers. And so with the art teacher, they were talking about the idea of play and collaboration, because she's going to get them into doing some big collaborative art pieces. With Will, he had them looking at this Mary Oliver poem called The Summer Day. If you haven't read it, you should. And so they were in a small group reading it, breaking it down, talking about it. With me, we're doing a lot of stuff around time, and we're going to be trying to model that mathematically. And so, one, we were thinking about, they had to guess where north was, where they think the sun rose, at what time, what time they think it's setting at. With the social studies, with Agatha, they were talking about this definition of happiness and all the different definitions that they can have with that. With the science teacher, they were thinking about looking more closely and getting out with microscopes and looking at various plants that are around. And so then we all came back together at the end of the day, redefined revolution, and ended up actually bringing in this incredible art piece from the 1100s from China, which is a 48-foot scroll that was sort of flowing through the screen. Then today, and then I'll sort of move on, we're talking about this idea of living deliberately. James O'Shea, the science teacher, and I were working together. I had them in the morning making these creativity timelines based upon other famous people and how they spent their time. And then I had them also thinking about how they spend a typical week. And so creating data visualizations related to that. And then James had us thinking about Henry David Thoreau, and we were over at Walden reading excerpts as we went around. In the past, we've tried inverting the world and but the pond's frozen, so we were not, I promise you, we were not out on that. And then just a different example, Friday we're heading to the Peabody Essex Museum up in Salem, and so we'll have an opportunity to look at some of the artwork and get out to see some of the urban art murals too.
Nice.
So those are some examples.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, just a quick question.
of course.
What percentage of students end up doing Rivers and Revolutions over the
Over the course.
some point before they graduate?
Yeah, and that's a really good question, and I think that's a big piece of what we've also been working on. And I think that Rivers has been at CC for 12 years, and I would say typically it's 20 to 25% of a graduating class is doing it. So I think we have 23% of this year's class. And I think coming out of COVID, there was a dip in a number of different things, but we're really, that's why I'm in it and why I love it, is to try and make sure that it continues to be here and grows.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That actually kind of leads into my question. So I just want to make sure you get some credit and your team gets some credit, because it does seem like Rivers has gone through, in the past few years under your leadership and that your team's leadership, a bit of a renaissance, a reboot.
Yeah.
And are there some things that you can point to that you believe are the reason for that? It has seen a resurgence. There's been more interest in the program. It seems now that it's a far more competitive program than it used to be in terms of, like, I don't know how many kids you can actually keep in the program at once. So what are some of the things that you guys have done that have made it more exceptional?
Yeah, I think that, I think one of these pieces, I think unfortunately, so many of our students feel this pressure, right, to build their resume as they're thinking about what comes next and thinking about ways to stand out and get a higher GPA and get those APs and do those things, and I do think bringing in the embedded honors across, I think, allows a number of students to feel like, hey, this is something that I can do and I can find a way to make it work for me, right? And so making sure that we truly can reach all students and give them that sort of rigor that they're looking for in a program that still takes them outside. We also, have students are able to take A and B block other classes courses, which does mean that they can take AP courses. So, a number of students are taking APES with Mr. Goldberg, and, working to figure out ways that they can take AP Calc in the morning and APES and then also still be within Rivers. Because I do think that there's so many incredible opportunities at the high school. And we know that life is full of choices and having to pick one thing over, but I think trying to provide an opportunity for students to not feel like it's this or that. And then I also think we've spent a ton of time really thinking about the curriculum and how to make it more cohesive and collaborative. I think with anything, you try to do as much as possible, right? All the you want to do everything, right? And there is so much to learn and so much that all the teachers are so excited about. But we also pared back and sort of focused in and really built up the curriculum in these 3 units. So I think that also students feel real strength in that and are able to speak to their experience. There's a few things.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This is great. And also, we've talked about Rivers. We've heard about it periodically throughout the last couple of years. And just thank you to all of you, Ashley here, and those of you on Zoom. We're grateful for the work. It's really important.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All right, thank you.
Thank you guys online as well. All right, Coach Goldberg and Coach Moss, we would love for you guys to pop up and talk about
do this?
your recent season. We're very excited to have you, and I don't want to steal your thunder.
We gonna sit here?
Yeah.
This is Shane.
Who's coming up?
New assistant coach. And
Oh, hey, nice to meet you.
we are what we are.
Welcome. Here, for those of you who don't know, we have our coaches of our state champion girls swim and dive team, and we want to give you guys spectacular congratulations, 2 years in a row. You show no signs of slowing down, so exciting.
I think that deserves repeating because they were clapping 2 years in a row.
Yeah, 2 years in a row with no signs of slowing down. So we applaud you guys in your efforts, and we'd love to hear a little bit about your season.
All right. So obviously we had a great season. It's been a few years now that our girls team has been really strong, with last year being our first ever state championship, and being able to follow up again this year was really exciting. I think this year the girls in particular felt a lot of pressure going into the season, having been going in as the reigning state champs, and it was something that we didn't talk much about over the course of the season, just kind of let things play out. I don't think we realized that our first meet of the season against Lincoln Sudbury for the girls was going to be our biggest rival. It was Lincoln Sudbury was our first dual meet of the season, and they were right behind us at DCLs and sectionals and states the whole way. They did really well. We've got some of our boys here today that came to support the girls. They also had a fantastic season. They finished fourth at states this year. And along the way, we broke 4 school records.
Awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
And at the state meet, we had 2 individual state champions as well. Maisie O'Donnell won in diving for was the second or third year in a row? Second year in a row. And Sarah Fortier won the breaststroke. That was her first state championship individual win. But it was really, for both of our teams, it was the depth of the team that carried the day. I think last year we had a number of athletes that were like top, and some of those graduated. And then this year, we brought, I think, 20 girls to states, and I think 17 of them have scored points at the state meet. It was
Extraordinary.
Amazing.
a lot of the other girls' teams brought half that number. It was just an extraordinary group athletically, and I have to say, on a personal note, that they're just wonderful people also. as an example, that today happens to be my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Matt, that was a great invitation of mine.
And I showed up to my classroom at 7:30 in the morning, and a quarter of the team was at my door ready to sing happy birthday to me. So, yeah, that was a wonderful surprise, and that just, I think, speaks to their character. And I think the main reason why I have enjoyed coaching this group so much over the last several years. So,
That's awesome.
you got anything to add?
A couple of former swim parents are here. Good to see him. Some other faces I haven't seen in a long time.
Get a picture.
We would love to get a picture, and just even with all of you guys who are here, boys, girls, anyone on either team. And I just want to say, too, for those in the audience that don't know, or your team and what you all as coaches and leaders have done in terms of being so inclusive with these children, really, really bringing out the absolute best in them. There is a culture to this swim team that I believe comes from the top, from both of you as coaches, and then the captains as well, that is just so extraordinary and so unique. When you're in middle school as a parent, you learn very quickly that the swim team is where every parent dreams their child might find a place because of that. And I just think that is so important, and I think in some ways it is even more important than state championships and all of that. And I don't know, I just wanted to get that out to the community, that I think what you are doing there and what those students do and what you commit to for each other is just exceptional and a shining example and a total embodiment of everything we value at CCHS. So it's a big deal.
Thank you.
Want to do a picture?
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
We're gonna have, yeah.
What do you want in the picture?
Like the big stage over here.
With Lori?
Yeah, with Lori.
Yeah, you guys should be in it too.
We can all be in it.
Yeah, you should be in it.
Cynthia, get up. Last year we did the.
Oh,
we did
come on.
Everybody.
You want to take it, Sean?
I got a good camera. I got a new camera.
Get it.
I don't know. Okay.
Okay, bring it in, Carolina. All right, well, we're going to have to, you take a couple too. Okay. I'm happy to stare at.
I guess I can get like the wide angle lens.
The 0.5, that's what all the kids do. So hip to it. Bravo.
I've got some, but if you got some more.
I didn't get any.
This is Concord.
I know, Julia Roberts. You are the. I'll do a little peek.
There you go.
Get to the end, come on, run around. Like that.
Okay, thank you for coming. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Rivers real quick. I'm
Yeah.
still upset that I wasn't chosen as one of those teachers when it first came out.
Oh.
But I did get to do a lot of kayaking with that.
Ooh, like a Q5 kayak tour.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
It's been fun. It's a great program.
Thanks, Jerry. All right, recognition's done.
All right.
Right. Now we can move into shortly our public comment period. Thanks, guys. With that, I'm supposed to do the spiel. Public comment is a period of 20 minutes. Our meetings are in the public, but not with the public. I forget this spiel. Anyway, we will allow everyone to have 3 minutes. And with that, I'm going to bounce between comment in the room and comment on Zoom if there is any. We did receive one piece of public comment. I'd like to call up Mark Giromaletti. Yes.
That was awesome. That goes on your report card. Mark Girolamendi, Concord, Mass., Wright Road, a resident. Okay. On May 3rd, 2024, I reached out to the CCHS co-principals regarding incidents of anti-Semitism, racism, homophobia, and misogyny that occurred after the solar eclipse field trip involving the class of 27. In my initial email, I extended a hand of cooperation, recognizing that these are community-wide issues that require a collective solution. On May 10th, I received a response from co-principal Stahl, which unfortunately felt like an attempt to placate rather than address the core issues. There was no indication of a committed effort to problem solving, and it appeared that the strategy was merely to run out the clock on the school year. As expected, another incident occurred this past November. I reached out again, urging the need for a comprehensive community-wide solution. I also expressed my disappointment and hurt as a family affected by these acts of hate. As someone who was born in Brockton, spent part of my adulthood as a resident of Roxbury, and is the father of Jewish children, I understand firsthand the deep impact of such behavior. My children's Jewish identity was put in stark contrast when one of them had to celebrate a bat mitzvah with armed security present. This is our reality, and nobody should be ignorant to another's truth. In the time that's followed, the same empty responses have continued, hollow emails and an apathetic plea for parents to do better, followed by the occasional speaker brought in to address the students. While the meeting I had with the co-principals on January 15th was cordial and professional, it did not result in any tangible commitment to address the ongoing problem, which remains unresolved and feels as though we are once again in the phase of running out the clock. It is disheartening to note that, though not widely publicized, word has spread around our community of an anti-Semitic incident occurring at one of our elementary schools. The question that begs to be asked is, how is this possible? The local Jewish community has formed a task force dedicated to confronting anti-Semitism, where many district residents are more knowledgeable and equipped to help in addressing these issues. Our own state representative, Simon Cataldo, leads a committee dedicated to combating anti-Semitism, and over a year ago penned a letter praising Acton-Boxborough Superintendent Peter Light for confronting similar incidents head-on. The work done in that school district is now considered the gold standard for tackling these issues effectively. With vast resources available, why is our district not taking full advantage? If we combine all of this with Emerson's Youth Risk Behavior Survey, where the data points to bullying and depression being on the rise, leading at least 9 students to self-report bringing a gun to school, and for reference, AB had 2, the time for complacency is over. I urge you to take meaningful action, to seek help from those who have experience in this area, and to work together with the community to ensure that our schools are safe and inclusive for all students, regardless of the background, identity, and beliefs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mark. I'm looking on Zoom.
Steve?
I'll promote. Yeah. There we go. Did you promote? Yeah.
Hello.
I think, was that Dave Nicholson?
Okay, thank you.
You hear it?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Great, thanks. Hi, this is Dave Nicholson and Laura Will. We're residents on Old Marlborough Road. Just wanted to start, Mark, thank you for sharing that story, but we're here tonight to address the Thoreau Playground project. I'd like to start by acknowledging Principal Sparks, the Thoreau PTG, and the Thoreau's Backyard Committee for their time and effort to create an inclusive playground. Comment was made earlier about how inclusive the swim team has been and how important it is for parents to help their children find a place in life. That really resonates, and the core idea in the Thoreau's Backyard playground design, but having an accessible place is inclusive for everyone is something we wanted to speak to tonight. That design principle is something that's promoted on the Row Backyard website and has been a central part of what they're promising in their fundraising.
Thank you. We have a son who's 5 years old. He's currently in the Concord school system, and he is a wheelchair user. In our lived experience, the design of a playground can either allow for a fantastic, inclusive community experience or perpetuate segregation and ableism. And we're here tonight to ensure that the school committee and the town are aware that, despite the best intentions, the current playground design is not inclusive. We have raised these concerns with the playground committee co-chairs 2 months ago and Principal Sparks and Angel Charles more recently. As a concern, wood chips are going to cover the majority of the playscape, and this material is not wheelchair accessible according to ADA standards. We provided detailed recommendations on how to improve the design based on the lived experience of wheelchair users, but to date, despite multiple parents of children who are wheelchair users volunteering to be a part of the committee, we have not been included. In our experience, the design of a playground can either allow for this inclusive experience or really perpetuate segregation and ableism. Allowing the playground to be built as it is currently designed would exclude members of our community, specifically wheelchair users, from that inclusive experience that is core to the design of this project. All children deserve equitable fun.
So we just wanted to raise these concerns so the school committee was aware. And thank you for your time. And we trust in your leadership to ensure that the values of our town are met and that the delivering on the commitments and promises that have been made as part of the Thoreau's backyard fundraising efforts are really essential to ensure that there's an inclusive future for all the children in our school system. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. I don't see anyone else in the room. Oh, I do see someone in the room. Sure, come on up. Name and would be helpful.
My name is Nancy Brown, and I live at 96 Forest Ridge Road. And I am co-chair of the DEIB Commission, but I'm speaking in my individual capacity. I moved here from Columbus, Ohio 8 years ago, and I can say, which is where I spent most of my life, but I'm very glad to be living in Concord now and not in Ohio. But we are all living in incredibly difficult times, where so much that we believe in seems under attack. And unfortunately, Concord is not immune from what is happening in the rest of the country. And we heard a little bit about that in the first person who spoke. There have been and there will be more incidents in our schools reflecting the currents in our society. I would like to urge the superintendent and all of you not to succumb to these forces and to reach out to the DEIB Commission if we can support you in any way in these very difficult times. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other comment in the room and none online. Right? No. We can move to our consent agenda, which includes our joint minutes from February 4th, the list and the listed warrants. If someone could make a motion to approve the consent agenda, I would entertain that.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda from March 11th, 2025.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, we have to do a roll call because Julie is on.
I can't tell because.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
She had to step off. She stepped up. So we still have a quorum and we are all present. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Great. Carrie, do you want to manage correspondence?
Sure. Okay, so correspondence, we have received about 25 to 30 emails, a combination between CPS and CCRSD, all on the issue of cell phone use in schools. That's it.
I do think it's important because that's unprecedented number of letters.
Yeah.
To make it clear what our process is going to be going forward.
Yeah, I was going to give an update in our chairs update, but I'm happy to do it now.
No, let's just do it then.
Well, let's just do it now. So
Okay.
We have a scheduled policy subcommittee meeting, and I was looking for the date right before this. But
21st.
Okay, on the 21st, and that will be the first discussion where we will just sort of talk about the outline of what our questions are, what we want to bring to the full committee, and then we'll bring it to the full committee after that. We will discuss at that meeting when to bring it to the full committee.
Right. And I do ask that we consider having a public comment at that, because it is a big, we've got a
Yeah,
lot
sure.
of-
Yeah, I think any
And,
public meeting we have to have.
In my opinion, this should be a data-driven decision, which I don't really have any data. So we've heard from mostly parents in favor of a bell-to-bell, it sounds like to me, control of devices in the school. And I would like to try to find a way to hear from more parents and teachers, staff, and what the impact would be. Because personally, I work in a school and I know a person who works in a classroom, and putting more stress on teachers to patrol so many things now, phones, kids going in and out of the classroom, it's a lot. And I would try to us to think of a way to not make teachers have to manage this process. So.
Yeah, I think there's lots to unpack, so I think we probably, that's why it should start at the subcommittee to understand what are the various, channels that we need to kind of go into and ask questions about, and then bring that research to the committee once we're ready.
It always shocks me that the MASC has not
taken an issue.
taken a position on this and drafted a policy.
Well, now we have some from the Attorney General, so.
Well, we have a million different bills, but yeah, none of which have, been through legislative session yet,
But all for a future conversation.
Right, yeah, so.
I just want to we said in our email responses that we have no policies regarding cell phone. We have practices at each of our schools. Well, I don't think we even have a practice at the elementary schools. It's just
we do.
None allowed, but.
Yeah.
Same K to 8, the whole K to 8 is the same, yeah.
And then the high school. So we currently have no policies whatsoever at the school committee level.
Yes, that's right,
But we have practices at our
the schools,
schools.
right,
Yes.
and the handbook.
Very defined practices.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But we can bring all of that to the subcommittee meeting as part of the conversation.
right. And I hope we just publicize that a little more than we usually publicize our policy meetings so that people know what is going on. And if they're so inclined to make a comment, they have the ability to do so.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear from more people, and maybe they have a differing opinion than what we've heard so far.
I think there are lots of opinions.
Yeah.
And I think there are also lots of questions that have not been answered that we have to figure out. This is not something that should be rushed because of the fact that there are a lot of opinions and a lot of unanswered questions.
All right,
So that's correspondence.
perfect.
We really didn't get anything else, no?
No.
No.
Moving on, Lori, do you want to start with the superintendent's update?
Sure, happy to. So lots of, as you could hear from the students, there's a lot of things going on, so I'm highlighting some of the ones that I've been engaged in or part of. Last week, a number of us attended, CPAC hosted a speaker on literacy and equity, so we attended that, and really, I think I felt validated that we've done a lot of the right work, that we've built in literacy, science-based literacy programs, phonics-based, and the next step will be the knowledge-based part, which is what we're looking at now. And our literacy program will be, over the next few years, completely research-based, which I think is worth saying over and over again, that we're doing that right work and believers in that research and the application of it for all kids. I had my first AI committee meeting last week with 20 volunteers who zoomed in with me from 4 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon across all of K-12. It was fantastic the way the group fell together. We had a really productive first conversation. We first focused on the benefits and the opportunity of AI Admittedly, it's hard to do that without going, but I kind of forced them to stay in the positives. Next time we're going to talk about the buts. We're going to start looking at what policies are out there. There's not a lot, but there are some, and the goal being that by the close of this school year, this committee will have a policy which starts to frame our vision for AI, both the opportunity and the struggle, challenges, and all the things we've got to figure out to go with it. At least it's a great starting point. Concord Possibilities had its soft launch at 199 Sudbury Road 10 days ago or so. Really, really well attended, just by invitation at this point, because it was low-key and quiet, but really fun to see the student materials and things that they've been making, all the swag they've made for all the different schools, and start to see that come to life. So we're working on signage, working on point of sale, working on those last pieces, so we're going to be able to open to the public and really start to immerse ourselves in the community. But the energy is just fantastic, being there with the students, being in there with others who came in to visit. We already had a visit from Littleton's 18 to 22 program, because they had a connection with ours and made a field trip of it to come see. So already word is out. The shelter, there were a number of vacant rooms that the state is filling. They're consolidating our shelter with one of the Waltham shelters that is closing. So in the last week, 14 families have moved in from Waltham, many of them with young children, which we were a little bit relieved by. 4 school-age students who are all staying in the Waltham Public Schools, so we've arranged transportation for them. We're expecting about 15 or 16 more in the next week, so we're all triaging, whether it's Bob does most of the transportation if they're going to Waltham, so he's been a key piece to this, and we're trying to do some economy of scale. Hopefully, if their schedules all align. But so the hotel's filling back up again is the bottom line, and I don't think we're surprised by that. It took longer than we thought it would, and maybe we got comfortable not thinking that would happen, but it is actively happening. I just came from the first home game of the unified basketball team at the middle school. Acton Boxborough was on site, and one, what a fantastic opportunity for our special education and general education kids to be together, and two, what a fantastic, that's really the first public thing we've had in there. What a fantastic facility. Lots of bleachers for parents and spectators to watch a basketball game on this amazing scoreboard, which we came back, we were behind by 10 when I went in and tied it up before I left. Just a lot of great energy, and really feels like that middle school's coming to life, which is fabulous. My last comment is the middle school. I mean, we are definitely working through some glitchy things, of course, in the first few weeks of a new building. Nothing overly significant, and we have a lot of attention because all the construction folks are still there at our side. I learned this afternoon that we expect the first pieces of Sanborn to be demolished as early as next week. They finished abatement in the front office and a couple of those other proximate areas near the front door. So they're eager to get started on demo in phases, and I think that's going to be quite something for us all to process and watch. But I think those are my updates.
Great.
Thank you.
Chair's update.
I had a couple of things. I don't know if, is Julie back on? I don't know if she had any.
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so one is, we're just working with MASC on an updated school committee evaluation, so we are going to build it and then bring the revised, as a reminder, we were going to rework it so that it focused more closely on our goals, and then also we wanted it to be a broader group of people who are participating, including our METCO reps, and potentially, I think we even talked about some of the administration evaluating us. So as one piece, so we will have a proposal. Hopefully, I'm working with them on that. So hopefully soon. They are like overwhelmed with budget season with all of their cities and towns, and so we're not their top priority, but working with them on that. The second piece, I wanted to give an update on the Thoreau Playground. They are in the last month of their fundraising, and to date they have $454,000 in hand, which is 74% to goal and a delta of $155,000 yet to raise in the next, ideally, month. So they're doing really well. They have a bunch of commitments to get them a lot closer. So I think the delta, if all of that comes in, is closer to 60 grand. So it's within reach, but there's a lot of work to do. So just putting out an appeal if you're interested in contributing. They've done a ton of work. In response to the Nicholsons, I just want to say that this, it's sort of a chicken and egg situation where they have to design something to put out there, A, initially to get feedback, and B, to say this is what we're hoping to build and why you should donate to it. There is no playground if we're not able to raise the money. So we are grateful for all feedback. We've gotten a ton of it, both positive and critical, and we're taking it into consideration. However, we are not in a design phase of the project. I say we just because I'm a liaison on the committee. We are not in the design phase of the project. We have to raise the money in order to know what actually we can build. So that is where we are. We appreciate and welcome all the feedback. I know Mr. Sparks really appreciated the conversation with them. I don't want to speak for him, but that he gave.
Definitely, to the point where we added the CPAC president to the committee to be sure that that voice is at the table. So,
right. So the CPAC
again, no final design is finished yet. Right. There's a schematic, so there's something to show the community.
Yeah, so thank you for, I'm not sure if they're still on, but thank you to them for their feedback and to everyone else for offering feedback. Now is the time for it because it's not built. So I think those are all my cell phones. Oh, Aisha, did you want to share anything? Oh, I think she might be frozen. No.
She glitched.
Aisha?
She might be frozen.
Yes, yes.
Oh, there she is.
So last week, our last meeting was in Boston. It was, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can. Uh-oh.
No, can you hear me now?
Yep. We
Okay.
can hear
So
you. Just
we had our last meeting in Boston. We had a full house. It was awesome. And yes, filling the other seat. There's a parent that's very interested. She's an Elcott parent, MECO parent. So I'm excited to have someone else on the committee.
So she was breaking up a little bit, but just to reiterate what you said, the METCO meeting, the meeting last week was in Boston. It was a packed house and it was awesome. And we have one person from the METCO community who's interested in the school committee rep position. So we'll be finalizing that hopefully and and moving forward. We're really eager to have somebody at the table.
And thank you for all your work on that, Aisha.
Seriously,
Getting volunteers for anything is a challenge these days. We all know that.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any?
I just have more questions since Julie's not on. I would hope that we can revisit. She attended along with some other, I apologize, I wasn't at the CPAC event. And she sent out an email, sort of in our behest, but since we had not discussed as committee that event and some of the things that she wasn't happy with or so forth. But she's not on, so I don't think it's appropriate to discuss this with her here. Maybe we could have that discussion at our next meeting and what appropriately is the right thing to do for individual school committee members, whether they should just represent themselves as a citizen or as chair or member of the committee when they might have specific questions or so forth with another event, not a school committee event, obviously. So anyway, that's all.
Okay. Bring that back to her.
Any other liaisons update? Brian?
Just very quickly, campus completion met yesterday morning. I think now with the warrant articles basically drafted for both towns, maybe a little refinement, but drafted, we're really shifting more towards what I would call the marketing plan. And what I mean by that is just how to get the word out to both communities. Something that I'll be circulating is a draft of FAQs so that we can use those in a variety of places, including a version of them on the website.
I owe you a draft of a letter by the end of this week.
I wasn't going to set a deadline, but yeah, that works.
I owe it to you.
And Brian, one of the questions I hear at Concord is an explanation as to why in April and September that Concord did not apply for CPA funds before the deadline. That's a question I've heard, so.
Yeah,
Should we
I have a
answer?
version
Do you
of
want
that in
the
there.
answer to that?
I know I want to see the FAQ, and then we can
Yep.
discuss the whole thing at once.
Perfect.
As a committee.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, if you could send that out.
Do you have an FAQ started?
I do have it
Yes.
started. I had a couple tweaks from yesterday's meeting that I need to get in
Yep.
there, and then I'm gonna.
Just before the next
circulate it.
meeting, if we can
Yeah.
discuss it, yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be awesome.
Also by the end of the week.
All right. Great.
Great.
All right.
Discussion?
Moving into our Ripley STEAM Lab overview. Lori, do you want to take the helm, or Shelley?
Actually, Shelley's going
Yeah.
to. I know we sent you a lot of slides. I'm a little
A lot of
worried
slides.
they're not going to screen share well. You weren't going to go through them all anyway, because it is a lot of slides.
Giving a 2-minute.
All right, I'll try to get at least a photo up.
Okay.
Do you want me to stream the slides?
Let me put it up. I don't think it's going to work. I think we're only going to be able to show like the first one, so, because we're having more technical issues. I'll find it, Shelley, if you want to chat.
Sure. So, number one, we are fortunate here in this district to have a STEAM lab here right at Ripley. It's this huge space. If you haven't been over there, it's an opportunity for our pre-K through now grade 6 goes over there. And it's really about being able to engage deeply and critically around our STEM standards, pre-K through 6. So it's really about doing science, and as we talked about in the last presentation around social studies, it's about inquiry. It's about doing the 8 practices of engineering and science, which are really about communication, problem solving, developing hypotheses, and testing and designing and experimenting. So what real scientists do, but what all of us probably do in our daily work and professions, no matter what the discipline is. So that's really the important part. And our STEAM lab educators just want to, support them and thank them for the work that they do, Allison and Mary, to really build this and work with the classroom teachers to create projects that are interesting, inquiry-based, and developmentally appropriate. So if we could get to that slide, there's just really just the schedule.
can't.
They come to visits, but as the kids come through, starting in kindergarten, all the way up through 6th grade, they have this experience and they remember, and they build on that progression of an inquiry, a question, and practicing and experimenting and doing some really great experiments and projects. So communication is a key point in this. Like,
There we go.
how do we pick up a project?
Work
How
like
do we understand what it means to design and build and filter, right, to test for acidity levels in different systems? How do we think about building a structure that's going to hold up, right, with weight and design, for a play structure, for characters, and like for kindergartners? So in this, they really do this STEAM level brainstorming, picking options, testing it, and designing and tweaking those designs. So to go over those standards, just really here, like in kindergarten, the question was, how do we build a tall, sturdy tree? So they start with a book, build that knowledge, and then the kids get to work in such a big space. They've got all the materials there, and the classroom teacher has done a little bit of prep beforehand so that they're ready to come here. And then they're excited to do the work. The STEAM lab teachers work with them, and they've got like just really great tools and materials that we've been collecting and using all year to work in 5 different stations. You've got a lot of adults in the room too to support them, and just all through the pictures you'll see some really great projects. And then as they get to 3rd grade, we don't call it really STEAM, they're really talking about STREAM. And the idea is that you're now doing a research, so you're building that research component to it, not just like starting with a book and thinking about how to test, but we now start researching online, using some books and just within or testing as well, and then applying it to a design and a build project. So they really get to do 2 phases of it, like in the morning and the afternoon.
I'll scroll through some great pictures while you're chatting. How's that?
There's just some really great projects that they do. And again, because it's not just the design process or research, it's around the collaboration. So again, they're building their SEL skills about how do you work in a team to do this? How can you listen to your peers about their ideas? Even if you may not like that idea, how can we test it? And then how can we document, look at data, and then play with it and come up with solutions together? Like, what's the best way to build this bird feeder? What's the best way to maneuver a rickshaw and to test it down a hill to say, what's the best way to get it to the farthest? And so they're really just having fun practicing and engaging. So we won't show you the videos, but in these, if you click on them, you can see videos of their work in testing, and they have fun. And I mean, that's really what it is, like bringing joy to this and collaboration. And in one day, they can build a project, you know, and model something. And then in the, after these visits, the teachers in their classroom will do some reflection too, if they can't get to that at the end of, you know, a long day here. So I think also just to recognize that our STEAM lab team, then our teachers are also modeling really just strong practices for the classroom teachers to think about that inquiry-based model to really make sure that they can see their students in a different lens sometimes, and to see how group work can really build on each other, so that they're going through that K through 6, and just they're excited to be here. And whenever we want like a lift from not in the Ripley day-to-day, we go to the STEAM lab, or we go to the preschool.
We need a
right?
kid fix, we go down
The
the
more
hall.
kids, you get to see them experimenting, designing, and
That's awesome.
yeah, they really love the space.
Oh, I bet they do.
Yeah.
Nothing better than getting on a bus and going someplace.
My kids love it. K 3 and 5, all sides of the spectrum, and they love it. It's just really fun for them.
Yeah, and they get to see, like, some in the second grades, they group the classes together, so they get to work with different kids that they don't always work with too. So that's always nice. Yeah.
I'm glad we had Rivers here tonight. This is like baby Rivers. You know, so like
I might have done that on purpose.
Yeah. I think
That makes sense.
Yeah, it you know, and I don't know, when we talk about even like neurodiversity and the different way kids learn, this is a real wonderful opportunity for kids to be more hands-on rather than cerebral. And I think that showing kids that they can have all different kinds of skills and different kids excel in different areas is really important, so.
And I think just this facility, sorry, just to say, that, like, again, the facility lends itself to what teachers, I think, in an individual elementary classroom may not be able to build out to that level.
Right.
Because of the space, because of the design, because of all the materials you need. It's just such a big lift for teachers that to take this off their weight, you know, just as an example of some really fun experiments they can do is just, you know, it really helps the teachers as well, so that we're ensuring we're getting that STEAM that we know that has been such a strong suit of Concord and Concord Carlisle. Like, you're really embedding that here, and it's really not that I'm aware of other districts that really have this opportunity.
Forgive me, was the STEAM lab originally seeded from an Ed Fund grant?
A good amount of it was.
Yeah.
But there was a $1 million capital project as well. But yes, they funded the materials.
Yes, I remember that.
Very
Again,
sensitive.
How old is it?
It was my first year it was built, so you're in year 7 of actively running the STEAM lab. You know, I think these are such great examples of some innovation that really has embedded and, you know, sustained the test of time. And it's just important we keep revisiting them and keeping them alive and really broadcasting them to the community because they're both very unique strengths of ours.
Well, and also I think Rivers is like the example of like, it can be a roller coaster.
It can be a roller
There can be
coaster.
ups and
You
downs.
have to stay attentive to it and focused on it and believe in it and be willing to ride out the dips to
Figure
figure it out, yeah. Yep.
Based on the schedule, is the space sort of fully optimized?
Pretty
at this
much.
point?
Wednesdays are tricky because the half-day doesn't give us enough time to maximize visits. But
Every Monday, all the other days
are
are scheduled. And because, for example, third grade comes 3 times, they come the most. And it's just really trying to plan and map. And you'll see on that schedule, they're here most of the day from after, picking them up and then coming here. And then they have lunch here. They'll have a little break. And so it's a almost full day field trip that they do. Yeah.
We're in definite discussions. The middle school piece is more challenging because it disrupts everything to pull kids out. It's not like a self-contained elementary classroom. We had done 6 and 7 last year, and it just upsets the whole building. We pulled back to 6 this year. We're going to talk some more with the middle school to see if we're getting enough value for the disruption it causes. So more to come on that, but it's been a good trial for sure to test it out.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you, Shelley, for pulling
Thanks,
all
Shelley.
that together. That's a nice,
Thanks, Shelley.
we should share the slides in other forums and make sure everyone hears what's going on there.
Yeah, so.
I know you parents do, but like the community at large.
of course.
Yeah.
No, it's a really unique
Yeah.
program.
All right. So we have not heard in a few months about where you stand on your goals for the 2024-25 school year. So we would love that update from you.
Yeah, glad to share. And I'll do this at a high level. You can read them, obviously. What's always a good thing for me is to step back to the 30,000-foot view and sort of see where I am and what I said I was going to be doing. Things always happen that sway that a little, or new things come up. But anyway, this was kind of fun because I was actually quite on track. So that's not always the case. Just highlights of the goal here on ensuring equitable evidence-based instruction, professional development. Obviously, I'm working really closely with Shelley on most everything that's here, as well as the rest of the administrative team. We're really in the data diving mode. We're looking at Shelley's doing a nice job of leading us in some reviews of what we've been using and whether it's the right thing at the right time in terms of tools, software, and other strategies, plus the actual content of the data and what it's telling us. So we've been looking at Atlas, which has been our curriculum software, and whether that's the direction we want to keep going. It's a little bit of a cumbersome program and not teacher-friendly. Open Architects, on the flip side, is our newer data warehouse that you've heard about over the last couple of years, and we've really been able to maximize that and at least get, there's more to work to do with the staff, but we at least got it out to them. And certainly the leaders, whether building or district level, are really starting to see the benefits of having everything in one place, from attendance to all their academic score achievements to the mental health screeners, like snapshots of kids longitudinally. So suddenly history is in the room when an 8th grade teacher needs to check on where the child is at, and you can figure out what's already happened. So we're excited by that. The ELA curriculum, you've heard a lot about that, and you will continue to K to 5. That's the knowledge-based portion of reading, so it's not going to supplant our phonics. We still need to do all of that, which is foundations and Haggerty phonemic awareness, Wilson for kids who need more. All of that's still going to be in place. This is more the comprehension side, where the most recent research really shows that you have to build background knowledge. This makes sense to equitably engage kids. And you have a levelizer that means it doesn't matter what you lived to how well you can connect with a text, because we're going to make sure everybody's got the same information going in. It brings a lot of opportunity for science and social studies integration, and a lot of much heavier weight on nonfiction than many programs have had until now, which makes so much sense to me, that we do more work at balancing out nonfiction, or even more heavily doing nonfiction than fiction. Nonfiction's the way you get through the rest of your career, scholarly and professionally. And fiction has its great strengths in the themes and the analysis, but we need to be sure we're doing both. So we're excited about that. More to come. We're certainly going to bring you our recommended program by the end, and we've been successfully collecting early adopters from the elementary schools for next year. thank you for the support the budget has in that as well. Other highlights in terms of culture is a big one right now. We've been really focused on this the last couple of weeks, checking in with all levels of teachers and where their mindset is, what their needs are. I mean, let's just name it. This is a hard job now. It's a really hard job. The needs of kids, the academic and curricular needs, all the other stuff that goes on, and we're really just dipsticking with them so we can understand how we can support them. In terms of the equity work and innovation and deeper learning, I've been very present in the calculus project work at the high school. We met with 8th grade math teachers as part of the placement process. Dr. Mims has been out, feeling really positive about the direction there, really hiring our goals for placement in higher level classes for students of color, and I think the data is going to reflect that as we go forward. MTSS, that's a system we've had in place for a long time. We've been revisiting it. Student support teams is a piece of MTSS. Often that's where the regular ed side tries to support children long before they might need a special education referral. We now have a consistent SST plan across all of K-5, which has been exciting. Other things we've just been working on, UDL is under Universal Design for Learning, so we've started to introduce that to all staff and make sure they've got some conceptual understanding of the framework. That's really about the accommodations and supports in multiple ways. You're going to either have kids access information or present information, and it really is about how to reach all kids. And we updated our curriculum accommodation plan and also shared that very blatantly with teachers, just as a reminder that the scale of accommodation in a classroom is really broad for what regular ed should be doing. You don't have to wait to get an IEP to get some different things in a classroom, and that's really the equity work in action in a real, gen ed environment. In terms of student well-being, the Panorama data, we've been reviewing that pretty extensively. Challenge Success app and also at the high school, so that data's been telling us a lot about where we are and the progress we've made. I was talking with some teachers this afternoon, the story of our SEL curriculum challenges where we were an Open Circle district. Open Circle says they are going to not have a program anymore because Wellesley College isn't supporting them. We pivot over, make a change. We don't really like the curriculum. We pilot, so we retreat. And then this fall, Framingham State resurrects Open Circle. And now we're going back to using Open Circle. It's good. It's a journey we could have skipped if we'd had a choice. Responsive classroom will remain a piece of what we've been doing because we've been very invested in that. And I think it's how do we marry the two together, because responsive classroom tends to have a more, everything we do is about classroom culture and environment and social emotional skills, and Open Circle is a direct teaching curriculum. I think we need to do both, and that's what we're going to be working with teachers on. But yes, it's a good outcome, long way to get there. But we're continuing to work on the YRBS data. We use that data regularly and are aligning it with what our screeners are telling us as to sort of deeper dives. So we're been glad for all the time and energy spent on that. In terms of special ed, we mentioned the launch retail space, which feels like a really big goal that we met. Angel and I are talking regularly about the special intensive programs, and those are not without their own challenges. We're at capacity in a number of settings, and the challenge there, and just maintaining, especially support staff. There's not as many support staff going to those particular settings as we might all wish. I think that's just the nature of the environment and the candidate pool that's out there right now. So we're actually massaging some relationships, and we just applied for a big DESE grant, Shelley wrote, that we're hopeful will help us build a pipeline of graduate students to come do special ed with us, and they would get paid a small internship, and we would pay a mentor, and it would be all grant funded, and so we'll see if that helps us. Yeah.
Awesome.
It would be awesome. We need to define, this is the one I was like, we haven't really done enough on that yet, a district-wide vision of what inclusion looks like in special ed specifically, so that we all are aiming for the same thing. There's a lot of different ways to define that. And then specific instruction, PD has been the name of our focus areas here. Wilson, the new IEP. I'll admit that feels like it was important, but it also distracted us from the instructional PD we needed to do. They ended up back in some process PD, which obviously needed to happen, and it's a better tool, but a little bit of competing priorities there. Professional practice goal, the homeless shelter was a big one for me this year and continues to be. We have kids coming and going in many directions on a given day. Bob and I are working tightly on the financial aspect of that, which has been more significant than we had expected, with especially the CPS homeless transportation, because more kids are either commuting back to us or like Waltham coming to us and going back to school of origin. So that's been more of a challenge than we thought. And now obviously working with the state and the leaders of the shelter on what is expected to be a phasing out over the course of the next 6 months. So DEIB, I listed things here. I feel like this is the lens we put on everything now. I think we've made that shift to where we ask ourselves that as we're talking about most things. Is this accessible? Is it equitable? I'm not going to say we've got it perfect yet, but the frame of mind is there now that that's the way we see things. And I think that's a big change, and I think we're seeing it in the staff, which means it's coming from the bottom up as well, and it's not all just us watching for it. It's happening everywhere. Again, not because we've got it perfect or totally figured out. I think, supporting the strategic plan, and this I think has been true in this political environment, that we're all very committed to our core values, and suddenly this year I'm finding myself naming that more blatantly, where before it was just part of our plan and our initiatives and our belief system, and now we feel a need to say it a lot, and we will continue to say it. So we're grateful for the support we heard here tonight. I'm still working on the state level committees, which have had an interesting turn a little bit there too, of how we're all navigating some interesting, challenging times. METCO's been a high priority this year for sure, meeting with METCO parents, METCO leadership meetings, METCO advisory days. I've been to the State House once already, 2 weeks ago, and going back in the late part of March. We've been really, I think you've seen, as we've made our way through the hiring process for the leaders, we know what we need. I think we found the right people now, and we've enjoyed and watched them grow. And I think, we're at a reset point, and I know leadership's been a big topic in the community. The right people are here now. We can just feel it. They lead with students and their love of students, and they do all the rest of it. So we're excited the structures are there now to really hone in on what else the program needs. There's a lot that's working this year. Transportation has been stable and steady. That wasn't always the case the last few years. We were spending a lot of time on just getting kids here and back. So we're shifting over to really honing in on the academics, which feels like what we're supposed to be doing. So yeah, we're really, congratulations to Solange and Melinthi and Andrea's assistant, and just really strong team to move us forward. In terms of finance and operations, we did work with the town on a capital plan, which felt like great progress. So we're glad for that, and Concord that we were able to do that. And then you've all been there, so we'll just reference the finance committees and the work we did together with them. We met guideline. So all of that aligned with my goals, supporting the amenities building and the campus improvements. Bob and I are the ones meeting with Gail in between your meetings. And then just making sure the budget reflected the strategic plan, which it does. We can name where there's places where budgets are supporting our goals, which is really important that I'm part of that messaging to all of you. And the last one is the new middle school, which I decided to just abbreviate since we're in. I attended all those meetings that were listed there, whether they were construction, building committee, everything in between, getting ourselves in, making sure now, I feel the job is to make sure the community gets to celebrate. We're looking at May 3rd. Decided to get out of April, May 3rd for a grand opening, ribbon cutting, all things Concord Middle School, the Ellen Garrison building at Concord Middle School. Justin Cameron met today with Jen Turner at the Robbins House, so we can incorporate some Ellen, where he's getting all ready to really help those kids know who Ellen is, which I think is great, build off of the elementary work we do. And just make sure the community feels like they're engaged in celebrating. A little tricky to do it in February and March, but by May, we think the grounds will be cleaned up more and the weather will be great and the 250th will be over and all of that. I'm still staying close, working with Justin and all the transitional things that still pop up. And yeah, just more to come as we're in phase 2 formally now. So as Sanborn is demolished and the fields go in and a little bit of playground and all that site work gets done, it's going to be that's when it's going to feel really done. You feel like you've got this beautiful school on a construction site right now, but it'll feel really done at that point.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Going back to your goals, you spoke a little bit about the shelter.
Yeah.
Since the shelter will be open through the summer, last year I believe you were part of the facilitation of some of those kids being able to participate in Concord Rec summer camp.
Yeah.
Are there going to be opportunities for these guys again?
It's going to be different this summer because the kids are much more transient than they had been. Concord Rec is also finding itself limited fiscally to continue to support at that level, which is completely understandable. Mr. Lucy and I, we ran a pretty extensive summer program for the first K and 1 kids all summer last year.
Right.
But we don't know who they're going to be, and they're not coming to us, so we're just not thinking it's going to come together. There's too many moving pieces. Yeah.
That's what I figured.
I don't know if there'll come a point in a few weeks or months where we're figuring out more of who's going to be here, but what we do know is our families with history are under significant pressure to get housing, and the ones just coming in from Waltham are going to be in that same boat, and they're staying connected with Waltham. So it just is a different summer. Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
Are there any, first of all, thank you, this is an incredible amount of work. But are there any like worries or concerns you have for this spring with your goals or generally, and then are there ways in which we can
there are. I would say culture and climate of the staff has emerged over the last few weeks as a really significant priority and has me reshifted my time to really listen and learn what they're feeling and needing. That I think we can't miss in all of this, because if they burn out on us, nothing else happens. So to me, that's become the priority of the moment, and I am sure it's going to carry through the spring, and just trying to be and stay connected with all of them. And we've been spending the last 2 weeks trying to sort out, okay, what do we have control over? What don't we have control over? What do you need us to hear and see and address? We've already started the brainstorming, and, what can we do in shorter or longer term? The bottom line is things have changed, and those of us in the schools know that. It's not the same job where kids show up and learn without a lot of other things potentially going on, and the demands of curriculum is that much higher, and just really supporting them as they learn new ways to do things, adjust to different student needs. It's just the demand, the level is high in terms of demands on them. So making sure we're caring for them as humans.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, personally, because I'm glad you brought that up, I think we need to have a bigger community conversation, because I'm not saying it's on the parents, but I think parents are maybe not hyper aware of the stress on teachers, especially. I think this is building before COVID, and then we entered a different world. And then we emerged, and everybody was just happy to be back at school, which is normal, right? And kids are still suffering from those young kids, I think, my observation anyway, working in another school, those kids coming up are still, they're coming through not really having a normal school year for a couple of years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just think there's so many demands at every level on classroom teachers, different at every level, but I feel like it's building.
It is
and not going in the right direction, so.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think, and that's becoming something we must focus on. I think in good news, we're doing other things while we're focusing on that, because the vehicles there, we're either meeting student needs, working on instruction, addressing and adjusting those is still doing the other work. It just comes with the lens of how do we caretake for the adults in the process. So I have to say, and this doesn't surprise me at all, when you really sit and I'm on my third round in the elementary schools, especially where teachers teach all subjects, have the same kids all day. And, they're offering solutions, which is fantastic, and some tangible ideas of what we could try to sort of get some balance back. But it is hard. It's just really hard. The national data all says the same thing. Things are different. Yeah.
And we have to get kids who want to be teachers, because all of a sudden, all these people are going to start retiring, and we're going to be left with a small pool of teachers.
Yeah.
Anyway, big problems, always solutions.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, going into our school committee goals, I've pulled up the tracker that Carrie and Julie maintain.
Julie.
And a couple, I wanted to turn one of our goals that is in the yellow, which means that it's on pace appropriately, but incomplete, is the story of the school, the community outreach sort of program, if for lack of a better term, that you are working on in a subcommittee with Tracy and with Brian. So if you guys wanted to just provide us with a 2-sentence update on where you sort of stand on that, and one sentence, 5 sentence, 10 minutes.
So the story of the schools is an effort to demonstrate to the community what we are about, what the experience of a student is, what they have access to and offer in a very high level way, because obviously that would be a 300-page document if it were not. And we are meeting again on Friday. We are, I would say, slightly behind. There have been a lot of competing priorities, which is completely fine. I think we are at this point, we made a budgeting decision at our last meeting where we decided we initially were hoping to write something, design it, have it professionally designed, and then mail it to the entire Concord Carlisle communities. Unfortunately, we don't have it budgeted, so it would be finding that money, which is not available. So we have money in the school committee budget, which we are trying to stay within the confines of that dollar amount, which makes a ton of sense. We want to do it, see how it feels, how it comes out, and then if there's a space to be able to budget it in the future, we'll have that conversation at a later date. So that's more than 2 sentences, but that's where we are. We're meeting again on Friday, and then I think I owe you, Lori, an updated fact question. I think just given our collective understanding, we can just start writing and we can leave placeholders for the actual data. And then you can just fill in the blanks. I think that might be the most expeditious way to approach it. Okay.
Thanks for creatively thinking about that.
That's where we are. Did I leave anything out?
No, I think that's a good summary.
Great.
Then the next one, you actually...
Can I say one other thing? Sorry.
Of course.
The goal here says to have a final product by the end of March. Our new goal is to have a final product to deliver to the Carlisle town meeting. Since we're not mailing it, it will be just have a printed document that we will bring to Carlisle. We're still figuring out Concord because it looks like they're doing a big
QR code thing.
No, they're doing
the single book.
A book.
The book.
Yes, I don't know if it would be anyway, Concord is still being figured out, but May 16th, 10th? 18th is the new deadline. So
wonderful.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm done.
And then school committee operations, you actually already sort of spoke to this about working with the MASC to revise, update, and broaden the scope of our school committee annual evaluation. So more to come on that, I assume.
Nothing else to say.
So great, everything's pretty much on track, and testament to all of you for keeping us moving forward.
And then keeping us organized.
Yes, that's true too. And then finally, the superintendent evaluation is upcoming. We generally...
Do you want me to do this?
Yeah, sure.
I'll do this one. Okay, so obviously it's our job to do the superintendent evaluation. We do it every 2 years. And Julie and I'm going to speak for her because we've had conversations about this, but she's not here tonight, obviously. we feel as though one chair should be a part of it, but then we also want to see if, A, somebody else would be interested in participating, and B, ideally somebody who's done it before, so they're not both people aren't flying blind. Neither of us has done it. And so we're hoping, Brian, I assume you've not done it. And this doesn't preclude you from participating if you want to. It just might be easier if there's someone who's done it before. So Cynthia or Alexa, and we could also reach out to Tracy.
I'm happy to do it. I've done it before. I like doing it. I have all the requisite pieces in well, I guess they're all in the drive now, but, how it's been done. Generally, what we've done is we take, obviously from a mathematical standpoint, we average everyone's individual evaluation for a cumulative evaluation for the different standards. The standards are very prescribed by DESE. So we do use their evaluation, so there isn't a tremendous amount of latitude. And then Superintendent Hunter will look collaboratively at the DESE evaluation and take the specific standards that are applicable to the goals you all just heard about. So the rubric for the evaluation is extremely comprehensive. So what you'll see on these evaluations are we don't evaluate the superintendent on everything possible in the DESE document. We highlight instead what is relevant to this year and last year's goals. And then what we've done in the years that...
Which we need to be very clear about, because last time I filled out the entire thing.
Right. And maybe we need to highlight it more than just in bold, but perhaps a color of the standards that we are using for the evaluation. And then the process that I've used in the past, before I began to do it, the committee, the subcommittee who does the evaluation would sort of aggregate everybody's qualitative data, which is, the comments that you can make about each standard, and they would essentially aggregate and editorialize, for lack of a better word or explanation. And what I've done in the last 2 years instead is actually take quotes from everybody so that it is less editorialized and everyone's views are represented in that document. It doesn't necessarily read as poetically because I'm using, direct quotes from everybody, but I think that is a strong way to ensure that everyone's voice is in fact included and it isn't editorialized by whoever is on the committee. So I propose we do it that way again, and I'm happy to be a part of it if you're interested.
So Julie is going to do it on behalf of the chairs, and then are either of you interested in it? Or?
I'm good.
Okay.
I can help with math.
Again, another one of those.
I'll give you the
Thanks for
spreadsheet.
asking.
I'll give you the Excel document.
Someone volunteering.
The
Okay.
math. Timing.
Yeah.
So I think we have to
Weird year.
What?
It's a weird year.
So it just has to be done before we
receipt.
No, I know.
Yeah,
It's
so
just we have that town meeting
May.
in
I
June.
think May is what,
Yeah.
right? That's what we talked about.
Everyone will still be here in May,
Yeah.
and yeah.
So we would do it. So
Yeah,
we would
that's
get it out soon. Have a
Great.
month to
Yeah.
return it, and then a month.
I think
to
it's hard
write
on
it.
everyone when you're doing it late, like June, and
Yeah.
it's all scrambled.
So we did it at the end of
years
May
ending.
before Memorial Day, something like that.
And truth be told, because I've taken the editorialization out of it, we don't need that. The committee does not need a lot of time to aggregate and do that. We can do that pretty quickly. We do not need a month. So
No, I'm
I
just
would
saying
err on the
to
side
give
of giving the
people-
evaluators more time than
Oh,
giving
than
the
the
committee
people.
time
I
to
see.
synthesize the data and put out the cumulative report.
Okay,
Because I think it
okay.
can be done
So give
pretty quickly.
whatever. Well, I
Yeah.
feel like you guys,
Yeah,
you
we'll-
and
yeah,
Julie
we'll
should come
manage
up with a
that.
process
Fine.
and then
Sorry.
implement it.
Perfect.
There's what, 1, 2, 3 people who've never done it?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, you've done
I
it.
filled it out, I just haven't let it, I haven't,
Right.
I don't know yeah.
It's just math. It's not too
It
bad.
must be the same as the Carlisle form.
Yeah,
I've done
it
the
is, yeah.
form.
I didn't know if you were using the same form.
DESI.
Or you just
Yeah,
like
we
up
do
or
it
down.
annually.
Okay, great, awesome.
Okay,
All right.
great.
We have no action items, and we have decided, given that we are only a quorum and not our full committee, to actually move our executive session to our next meeting.
Terrible. Let's just wait till we get a quorum, you know, like they'll show up eventually.
Bigger representation. So with that, I'll adjourn.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
7:30.